Hi once again, folks, and welcome to Talk Formula One. Las Vegas was very exciting for whatever reasons you choose to. But before I get carried away with myself, let's remember we have OBJ here with us. OBJ?
Hi, cute day, folks. Yeah, it's good to have you with us. Tell me
Right.
about tell me about Las Vegas. I feel a bit like Max Verstappen, I'm sorry to say, so I'm just gonna put that on the table straight away.
Something you and Max have in common for once.
Well, I'm beginning to like the guy, as you may well imagine.
Oh well. I guess it's hard not to. Everybody loves a winner, so hey, what can I say?
I didn't care if he was a winner or not. I just didn't like his attitude. He was a bully. And I take the view that if everybody drove the way he does, there'll be lots of accidents, perhaps even death. So that was my reason for not liking him, not because he was winning. I just felt that you cannot do those daredevil overtake that, you let me through or we're gonna have an accident. Imagine if everybody drove like that, it'll be chaos. So and thankfully he stopped doing that. So yeah,
Oh, well, I think a couple of world titles under the belt helps to improve your level of desperation. So,
it
hey,
does,
but
and I think perhaps what ultimately calmed him down was that high-speed shunt crash he had at Silverstone with Lewis Hamilton, because for once Lewis didn't back off, and he found out what it was like to crash a car at that speed, which was the first time for him, and like everything else, you find yourself in a really nasty car crash, it will make you think twice about certain things you do whilst you're driving. And I think that's what ultimately, calmed him down. I may be wrong, of course, but in my view, it was a massive crash, and he learned his lesson from me that you need to calm down, otherwise you will kill yourself. Simple as that.
so, I mean, this is predictable. All credit to Sir Lewis. Max has learned what it's like to have a high-speed shunt.
So yeah.
I couldn't help myself, OBJ. I had to slip that one in. Anyhow, let's get to Las Vegas. Qualies, a big shocker that the McLarens didn't get out of Q3.
So did Sir Lewis. Oh, well, he managed to
No,
Q
he managed. He
Q2.
managed
He
Q.
managed. He kind of managed. He just kind of linked into Q2. I think, I've had a lot of people beginning to refer to the
No, I
Mercedes
wouldn't
as.
say he. I wouldn't say he limped in. I think just the timings. In fairness to him, timings just didn't work out because he only missed out by two
If he was,
hundredths of his
well, he
two
did.
0.028 seconds.
If you
So
look at the timing, if you look at the
nip and
timing,
talk.
if you look at the timings on pretty much all of them, it was a pretty bunched up pack.
Yes.
And so this is what we are beginning to see now that, progressing between Q2 and the top 10 shootout, you really have to be to be safe, that is. I mean, we have some guys that we would not normally find in that space, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so
both Williams were in 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 Q3. So you know, what do you say?
good luck to
Um,
them. I think the Williams they've made good a lot of their promises this season, and I think we really can't take it away from them. Personally, that's my view. A few years ago, perhaps a couple of seasons ago, the Williams was not even in contention at all, and now you really can't talk about Formula One and not, doff your hat to the Williams.
oh well, uh,
Mm.
I guess um, underperforming F1 teams are not underperforming out of lack of effort. It's just that, sometimes they've got to try a few things before they actually hit on something that actually works. And with regular rule changes, sometimes by the time they just come into grips with stuff, something else comes up. And
Yeah.
then one also has to bear in mind that, it's a very expensive sport. And so even the teams that are on a shoestring budget are spending quite a lot of money. So, well, they're spending quite a lot of money, but, it doesn't compare with the big boys who, have bottomless pits to, exploit. So,
Yeah,
uh,
well, you know what? I'm kind of glad you said that. And then, we kind of say that and not mention the ones that have been caught, cheating, as it were, overspending the hat. And I think, you really have to love Formula One daily because I mean, if you look at, we're talking about Las Vegas and we're talking about quali and, free practice one, two. We're talking about the portal cover that suddenly got dislodged, damaged the car's engine, and the FIA is saying, well, sorry, you still got to take an engine penalty because you've changed your engine. So, we're talking about very strict application of the rule in one hand, whilst we are not even giving any allowances to events that are totally outside of the control of your team, as in the track damaged the car. And why would you expect somebody to be penalized for that? And at the same time, you have some no-brainers, and the FIA's approach to that is like, well, it's racing. Not that we're going to
yeah.
talk about the eighth championship that Lewis did not win. So it's you really got to love Formula One to continue to be motivated and to be fired up and to believe that everything is not being decided behind some closed doors with men with head full of dandruff. And was it dandruff or dandruff? In a smoky room.
I will tell you this much. Um, I just felt that that penalty that was applied for
It's
signs
ridiculous.
was just to make sure that the Ferraris could not, work together to ensure they got the race win in Las Vegas. That's
A lot
simple.
of a lot of people will come to the same conclusion because, as I have some expertise in law, and force majeure is a bog standard legal clause. These are events that are totally outside of your control and could perhaps compromise your performance or your ability to deliver the contract. So you will claim relief from that first major and say, well, hang on, I cannot perform this contract because an event happened that is totally outside of my control. That is one of the fundamental pillars of legal contracts. And I'm sure there's something like that in the FIA, even though I've not read any of their contracts. So how can the track damage a vehicle's engine and expect the vehicle the team to still be penalized for something that is the fault of the FIA? It
OBJ,
borders
you're a
on
clever,
stupidity.
you're a bright cookie. I'll tell you, there's a very easy workaround. Carlos was expected to know that that
That
manhole
yeah,
cover was going to
his
pop
car
up,
will
and he was to
damage it.
drive
Yeah.
around it rather than drive over it. So I mean, job done.
Well, I hear you. Yes, you should
That was
those
a quicker
those
fix than you even thought.
That was, yeah, those should be within your consideration as a race driver traveling down the road at like 180 miles an hour. That, hey, pothole there, you need to drive around it, not on top of it, but not.
Yeah, well, these guys get paid to do the job. See, listen, OBJ, you're trying to let these guys walk away with millions for doing, just looking good.
Nothing,
They,
yeah.
they, they need to earn it, man.
They need to turn their steering and factor in all eventualities,
No, no.
you know?
Well, when you drive an F1 car that regularly, you should know how much, just slight, just a slight, just niggle past the manhole, and make sure you don't incur engine penalties, and you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. These things can be done.
Well,
These are trade
well,
experts.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, that's free practice and quality for me. I was totally unimpressed. For me, that manhole thing set the agenda, and I just could not get Verstappen's comment out of my head that it's got nothing to do with racing. 10% racing, 90% money making,
Razzmatazz.
money making,
Yeah,
entertainment,
yeah, we're
and
gonna
the
make the money.
assumptions that we are all cookies, if I can call us that,
But
idiots, really.
but strangely enough, I read a comment earlier on before the race, about a week or so before the race, where Ross Brawn was um meant to have said that they had worries about the race in Las Vegas because of temperature and all whatnot, but he in conjunction with Pirelli had done some um, experimentation, and they were comfortable that the race would work, because at some point in time there were people of the opinion that because of the time the race was going to be run, temperatures would be so low, and it would just be outside the operating window of the tires. But apparently Pirelli did some tests that made some adjustments for what was supposed to be used in Las Vegas. And well, I guess.
They've had so many months, perhaps years, to prepare for this, and personally, I just think it's inexcusable. I mean, that's just how I feel. So, I mean, I took this sentiment into like I said, into the rest of the quali and in fact the race, which I almost did not even want to bother watching. But there you go. I
Well,
knew if I didn't do that, you
yeah,
wouldn't be too pleased.
I guess you would have to agree that you would have been wrong not watching the race, because I mean, well, yes, Max did win, but it was a competitive race. Max didn't just walk away with it, if I may
No, we
add.
didn't. No, we didn't.
Uh,
Yeah, we had some good overtake. Look, it seems we are just going straight into the race. So why don't you just carry on into the race? I mean, I'm just gonna react to anything you say because I've already deposited myself.
no, then it becomes pedestrian when you agree with everything
Well,
I
it's not
say.
pedestrian. I will jump in as appropriate
I mean,
to
come on, OBJ.
deposit my opinion.
At least, if nothing else, you must be excited that, once again, Lewis finished ahead of his teammate. I mean, come on.
Did he
Don't
finish ahead
tell
of his
me that
teammate
didn't.
because of the penalty, or he finished ahead of his teammate because of the
Well, everything stacks up, penalties and all equals race
listen.
result.
That you see what I really don't understand. Personally, Lewis to me stuck out like a sore thumb. Started the race on hard when everybody else was on mediums. I'm not really sure why they thought that was a good idea. And then did he really get a long sting on the hard tires? No, he didn't. So if that was the intention, you see, this is why, when you start to look at this thing perhaps closely, if you're going to start this guy, Lewis, that has a reputation of maintaining his tire health, perhaps one of the best on the field, if you started him on hard, then you bring him in when ideally you will bring in somebody that is on a medium. So I will ask the question, if that was the plan, why didn't you start him on the faster mediums and bringing him at the time you brought in him, which will have been roughly the time you will bring in someone that is wearing a pair of or two pairs of medium tires. So the advantage he had, the compromise he had by having a slow hard, which supposedly should give him an advantage of a longer sting. So when he puts on his medium, he can then go into a medium or a softer, whatever. So that advantage was taken away when you brought him in so early when he's just barely gone through the rubber, when the hards were effectively coming into their own. So I don't understand Mercedes' strategy, why they've done that. And I'm sure I was not the only person that noted that Lewis is the only one wearing two pairs of hard boots to start the race. And, we just got to put on our thinking hat here. And I say, well, what is it? And then you're going to say, yes, it's to give him the advantage. Then he can have a much longer sting. And then boom, boom, boom. And then what did we find? As you know, I spend most of my time junking on news from different sources and spend a lot of time trying to read between the lines. This is something I do automatically. I couldn't help but to wonder where Lewis's performance suddenly came from. The performance that if it had that performance and was on a medium tire from the beginning of the race, it will be fighting 1, 2, maybe 3. So you compromised him on a hard. It has virtually questionable performance, and just almost like we're getting used to now, just when he runs out of lap for the race is when his performance suddenly, and you'll be like, oh, if only Lewis had 4 more laps, if only he had 2 more laps. How many times have we had those comments this season that is always down to if only Lewis had 2 more laps, if only he might have won the race. And this strategy that compromises him, that puts us in a situation where we keep saying if only he had 2 more laps, keeps repeating itself. It's always if only he had 3 more laps, if only he had 1 more lap. And this is an A-list team. And in project management, we talk about learning from experience. And Mercedes seems not able to learn from experience. They seem to repeat the same pattern of mistake over. I mean, I've talked about this before, delay. We had one race that was choking down with rain. It was an accident. It was a free tire change for everybody. Everybody darted in, and Lewis was left out there on slicks, and everybody thought. I love David Coulthard. DC said, I don't know which forecast the Mercedes team are looking at, but this rain is not going away. Why is Lewis starting out there? He's the only one starting the race in slick. And the moment he started the race in slick, they brought him in for a tire change and automatically added 20 odd seconds to his oh, we got this strategy wrong. Oh, you didn't look at the weather forecast. You didn't see the track. You didn't see the rain on the track. And Toto does this all the time, and nobody calls him out to say, maybe it's time you go. Because these are not mistakes. You're endangering this guy's life for starters, in case you don't realize that. I mean, last year when we had the bouncing problem, did anybody notice that George Russell's car did not have as aggressive a bounce as Lewis's car? No one can tell you why that problem seemed to be more pronounced with Lewis's car. Nobody could tell you why. We just took it out. Oh, well, just the way it is. George Russell can cope with it. Lewis can't. Perhaps he should retire. And then what happened when at the end of one race, the guy could barely get out of the car. His spine was totally destroyed. The FIA had to step in so that this guy is not damaged. And we have someone like Toto Wolff that's got all the telemetry, and he keeps talking about these schoolboy mistakes that the team make that always seems to have one outcome. It compromises one driver. Always. There you go. Enough of my gripe.
Well, I guess, like you said to me a couple of minutes ago, get into the racing. Now, there's lots of overtaking up and down in weird places. And so, I mean, for my money, that made Las Vegas a very exciting race. I mean, everybody was overtaking. I mean, the Alpine boys went wheel to wheel. They were even told, to hold station and all whatnot, which, well, they eventually had to let go. But, Piastri was, fighting back from the back of the grid. The Ferraris and the Red Bull swapped places a few
They kept
times,
swapping places. That was
and
amazing.
the only thing that was kind of like weird to me was that Leclerc seemed to have an up and down day, because one moment he's flying and the next moment he all of a sudden becomes, the meat in the sandwich. And it was, I mean, yep. When Perez got past him, he made a mistake at the bend, but I was kind of like surprised that he was actually able to pick up pace and overtake Checo for that second spot. I don't know if Checo, ran out of tires, but Checo normally is very good with managing his tires. So, and I just couldn't understand that. Couldn't understand
Yeah,
that.
well, listen, like I said to you, I mean, I went into the race very deflated. Some of these actions did not surprise me. To me, the race performed almost like a script out of a playbook. Personally, it
Also,
was.
you feel they were all acting.
I felt it was deliberately sensational. To be totally honest with you, we were having performances high, low that defies common sense. And a good friend of ours, he said, "Oh, do you watch American football or is it basketball or something?" And he said it's almost the same. There's always this very last minute upset and boom, and oh my God. He said you can almost expect it. It's that bad.
Now,
and and
there's a thought for
and
you.
and
So,
and and,
are
and
you
as
saying
you
are
know,
you saying the organizers bunged all the drivers and said, "Listen, mate, hey,
because
hey,
they
there's a
don't they
half a
don't
million in there for you. Just
they don't
read
need
your
to.
script when you get back
Look,
to your room and just play it out."
Vegas is known for one thing. It's a gambling city, and whilst they are winners, most people are losers. So, and
I hear you.
and some will argue that these are not sets of random events because the consistency of these randomized events, a pattern has emerged out of the consistency. So when a random event has a pattern, then you have to think because the whole idea of a random event is that you can't see any pattern to it. But when a random event over the years presents a pattern that you can almost predict the randomness or the variation within the randomness of the event, then you have to start thinking that I'm just being taken for a ride here. These are not random events. These are planned events. Anyway, enough of that my rubbish. Don't listen to none of that. Listen, I'm half as paranoid as you rightly know. So, and I view everything with a whole lot of suspicion, and I personally don't trust the FIA. I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I guess on a racing note, so Red Bull has finally managed to wrap up both drivers and constructors in a season. It's the first time they will do that. So congratulations to them. My fear is that they're going to keep doing that for the next 2-3 years. But hey,
I don't have such expectation. mark my word, I see a divorce between Red Bull and Verstappen, and you know, it's just a matter of time. I don't see the two of them carried on into the next season. Verstappen is becoming exceedingly rude in the team comms, and I think a lot of the times he's been roped into those rude comments, to be honest, you know, and you know what I mean? You don't tell your engineer to shut up, you know, and the engineer does the same thing whilst you're cornering after you told him to shut up the last time. Your brain should kick in. This guy is trying to rope me into telling him to shut up. And what do? You avoid to do that. But he told him to shut up again. And so I didn't think it was a lapse on the side of the engineer, you know, knowing the kind of humor English people have, dark humor that is. So he has all the opportunity to tell him whatever I needed to tell him when he was on the straight, when he was braking. He had all ample opportunity to tell him that. Oh, he chose to do it again whilst on that braking in a corner, knowing the very last time he got told off by Verstappen on team comms for the entire world to hear. So I personally think the relationship getting very frosty. I believe Verstappen is a very cocky guy. He believes too much in himself. He believes that if he goes anywhere, he can make. I mean, put it this way: if you were Verstappen and you believe in yourself the way he does, what would prevent you from a Ferrari drive when you know really is man and machine, but it's more like man plus machine, meaning it's the man really that's bringing the performance out of the machine. Why would he not do a Ferrari move and be a winner in Ferrari and getting a brand new relationship going? And when you begin to watch the body language, the team dynamics, it's becoming. I don't see the spontaneous enthusiasm there anymore. I see people are playing to the camera and and
I can give you a
celebrating.
short, sweet, sharp answer to that. I don't think at present they make team bosses like they made the Frank Williams of the past. Max would have
Well,
been gone by the end of this season.
oh, so you agree with me that he has been pushing his luck a
No,
lot
but
lately?
I don't think Christian Horner is about to let Max go. I think he's going to keep putting up with his crap when it comes to
No,
stuff like that.
you have to understand. Um, there's politics in everything. You
Yep.
know, it's just like Michael Gove and Boris Johnson. You know, mounting stage and selling us Brexit. And up until Michael Gove produced his dagger and stabbed Boris behind him on his bollocks, we didn't know he was going to do it. That's just the English way of doing things. So just you know look, the difference between the English and the American, if things are not working out with the Americans, they'll let you know. They don't faff around. They'll know you're a complete idiot. And you know, the English do not behave like that. They will smile with you. They will hug the wife and kiss your baby, knowing they're going to try and kill you the next day. And that's just the way it is. And we will have this conversation again, and I'll remind you when the divorce happens.
When
Mm.
divorce happens. Well, I'll stay tuned for that. Anyhow, folks, it was nice having you here. We seem to have gone off on a tangent and haven't spoken much about the racing because, as you heard from OBJ himself, he thought it was all a fit up.
Awesome.
Let's have your comments. Tell us what you thought about Las Vegas so I can stick it to OBJ and say, there you go. But it was great chatting and presenting to you our differed opinions on Las Vegas.
Absolutely.
I thought it
And,
was a blinder of a race. OBJ thinks otherwise. Anyhow, like I said, let us hear from you. Till then, hope to see you in Abu Dhabi. From me, it's see you. OBJ.
well, listen, on from me is see you. And I have to say, we did not plan this. We're not trying to call you guys idiots that they're just playing us. No, we're not. We actually do have differences. Good night.